Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, today we're out recording another bike review. I've been riding for the last 2 weeks this machine, which is the latest BMW S1000RR. Now, I did ride this bike earlier on in the year on circuit at Almeria, but it was a little bit moist and I only had one session on the RR, so I couldn't really bring any conclusions. I mean, there's been some small changes to this bike this year, which we go through. Obviously, most of those are cosmetic. We now have last year's M1000RR winglets on this bike. Those winglets give you something like 6 kilos of downforce at, I think, 100 miles an hour or 90 miles an hour. So they do something for the road, 6 kilos. If you do 186 miles an hour, there's something like 33 kilos of downforce. But I wouldn't recommend that on the streets, or you may find yourself going straight to jail. So set yourself down, make yourself comfortable, and Chopsy, roll the intro. So as I said at the beginning, I've been using this bike for the last 2 weeks, and I went up to BMW to pick this up and I stepped on it. You know, bear in mind I'd recently ridden the RS model, I'd spent 2 weeks on that. I stepped on this and thought, bloody hell, this is extreme. It felt very, very focused, but after riding it for, well, that first evening when I got home, which was about a 60-mile ride, by the time I got home, I was absolutely loving this. It didn't feel too extreme, and I've been riding it ever since. And I've sort of, my body's got used to this position. And when I had one of these on long-term loan for the season, I mean, I rated it, I really, really rated it. I'll put a link to some of the videos I did on it up the top, and I loved it. And in one of my videos I called this a sports tourer because I had the panniers for it, you know, the soft luggage for it. I did a 600-mile day in this, riding around Cornwall, finding pasties with Bruce, and I absolutely loved that bike, and I almost bought it. BMW wanted a bit too much money for it, so I didn't buy it, but I was seriously contemplated buying one of these, my long-termer. And I've always loved the RR, and jumping on this and living with it for the last 2 weeks. It goes back tomorrow, unfortunately, and I've got to say that's unfortunately because I've really found this lovely. I thought my sports bike days were over, but on this bike it rides so lovely. I mean, it is extreme, and when I first got on it, it was that, oh blimey, that is focused, you know, it's fit. The suspension feels rock hard, whereas compared to the RS, you know, it was quite taut, the suspension on the RS, but it wasn't at the same levels of firmness that this bike is. The riding position is about as comfortable as a fully track-focused sports bike can get. Your feet are back, your feet are behind your hips, but when I get on it and I have to lift my feet up onto the pegs, I don't go, oh God, and I've got to lift it that little bit extra. They easily get onto the pegs, and I've had no sort of leg discomfort at all. Yeah, you've got a bit of weight on your wrists, and that's all you really have to get used to. I think with this riding position on this bike, it's just that little bit of extra weight on your wrists, and once you get used to that, this whole bike comes alive. And what is so incredible with this, and I'd forgotten that this bike was like this, is just how much grunt this straight 4 engine produces, even in a higher gear. Now, of course, this has the shift cam engine. You know, the BMW was sort of one of the first, weren't they, to introduce that variable valve timing. And even for a straight 4, this thing just gives you so much pull. This is more grunty than my Honda Hornet I had. There's much more pull on this bike than the Honda Hornet. I don't know how BMW have got this so grunty for a straight 4, but it really accelerates, and that's what makes it, I'm going to say it, I think it makes it a good road bike, because you've got the bottom end grunt. Obviously you go past 7,000-8,000 revs, this thing is an absolute missile, as you would expect. I mean, it's 210 horsepower, this bike. 210 horsepower, and I think it's 113 newton meters of torque. It weighs, I think, just under 200 kilos fully fueled. So it's an incredible machine. I mean, just the specs alone tell you that it's incredible. But what is so amazing about it is just how friendly it is. All the electronics, the brakes. Oh, let's just talk about the brakes on this bike. This has the M Sport brakes. This is the M Sport model, and this has the brakes from the M1000RR. And these brakes are the best brakes on the market, bar none. There's so much power, so much feel. They're incredible. Like one touch, it's one finger braking. They're the best brakes on any. Oh, a bit of grit in the middle of the road there. The best brakes on any bike on the market. Better than Ducati brakes, better than KTM brakes. These are the pinnacle of motorcycle braking. One of the things BMW do very, very well is the whole electronics. And you know, this bike is got all the bells and whistles. But what I like about the BMWs, and I've said this before, is you know, when you're just in the road mode, you don't have to select your level of traction, you don't have to play around with settings. Everything just is set up for you, and it just does the job. It just does the job, and I really like that. So you're not, I mean, if you like to go in and play around and a little bit more wheelie control, a little bit less traction control, I want a bit more wheel lift, you can do all that. And you can do all that with the 2025 model because you get the Pro riding mode standard. You used to have to pay extra for the dynamic, I can't remember what they called it now, dynamic Pro modes, and that will let you turn off wheelie control, adjust the traction. You've got all that now as standard, which is great. You don't have to pay extra for that, and it's called the Pro riding modes. I'll run you through it, but if you just got it in road mode or dynamic mode, you don't have to worry about all of that. Leave all that for the Pro modes. But it just works. Everything just works from an electronics point of view, and I think that's one of BMW's strengths. And you also get cruise control on this, which is an absolute must. I couldn't have survived on this bike without the cruise control, and it's just a one button operation, just bang on. You know, I couldn't have managed riding this for the last 2 weeks I've had it if it wasn't for the cruise control. It's a must for a sports bike, but it means you can slap that on, and when you get a moment, just sort of sit back. Yeah, you should really keep your hands on the handlebars, but you can of course cover the rear brake, but just stretch out and let you take a little bit of weight off of your wrists, which works really well. The S1000RR always was the sports tourer of the sports bikes, and I think it still is. I mean, it's not as comfortable or relaxed as the R1300 RS. It's not, you know, that was definitely another level of comfort, but for a sports bike, this is okay. I could live with this. Of course, it's ridiculously fast, of course, and you may as well just throw your license up and put it straight into the dustbin, because this is an incredibly fast motorcycle. But because of the way it makes that power, because of the drive you have at the lower range, it makes it usable, you know, makes it fun, because you can just play around with the lower rev ranges and still make really good progress. It's not one of those bikes that's only fun when you're screaming it, and that's what makes a good road bike, isn't it? If a bike isn't fun, or if it's too slow at the bottom end and is only fun when you hit the red line or when you hit the power band, then it's not a good road bike in my view. And that is what is superb. What's all this lot coming around here? Bloody, how much road do you want? Unfortunately, they've resurfaced my favourite little bit of road here recently, so I can't go too mad down here. It's freshly resurfaced, and they've done the, you know, quality job, of course, where they just put a bit of wet tarmac down and then chuck a load of stones on top. You know, quality job. It's a motorcyclist's worst nightmare, this sort of resurfacing. So for 2025, you have the cosmetic changes with the extra wings at the front. Across all of the S1000 range, and I think the M1000 range as well, they've changed the throttle tube, so you have 14% quicker action throttle, which doesn't sound much, but what that means is, as you're riding along, normally on the throttle, when you open the throttle, you open it, but you have to sort of readjust your hand to find the next bit of throttle. So you open your throttle fully, but you're not actually at full throttle. You have to readjust your hand on that last little bit of throttle tube movement. Well, on this, it's like medium throttle on the stop. You can do it all with one movement of your wrist, which does mean you've got a lot of power there just with a single turn of the throttle. But I've not found it too much. That's the difference. It's been absolutely fine with that, and I think that has really helped with the drive from the bike. You know, like I said, when you're in a higher gear and you just open that throttle up, it's got an incredible amount of drive. Let me show you that I'm in 6th gear at 40 miles an hour, and this is probably doing about 3,000 revs. 60, and that is slightly uphill here as well. So that's amazing, isn't it? 6th gear at 40 on a straight 4 engine, because of that shift cam or the way it's geared. I don't know what magic BMW have done, but it's actually got a decent amount of grunt. And if I was in 4th, I'll do it again in 4th in a minute, it's fast. It's fast. And then of course you hit 7,000-8,000 revs and the world turns into a blur, because this thing is absolutely bananas. It's too fast for the road when you get into the upper power range. It's just too fast, but you can use this and enjoy it in the lower rev ranges. And I'm going to say it again, that is why it makes it a good road bike. An S1000RR, good road bike. What am I talking about? Alright, let's have a little bit of hill climb. Unfortunately, looks like we've had a shower here, so it's a bit wet, so that is a shame. I'm going to have to go a bit steady, but I mean, you cannot beat a sports bike when it comes to fun in the twisties. You know, that riding position just makes sense when you throw some corners at it. You can sort of hover nice. The rear brake is in a really nice position, so I like to just feather over the rear brake going into the corners. You can still hang off it and get to the rear brake. Yeah, shame about the rain. A bit of brake there. But it's just so confidence inspiring. So much feedback from the tarmac as well. Obviously I think it's just got Marzocchi suspension, all built to BMW specifications. So the actual feedback from the road, when you've got it in road mode, as you change through the modes, it changes the suspension. But in road, it's plush. It runs over big bumps. Don't get me wrong, it's not like the RS. There's definitely more feedback. It's harder than the RS, but it's acceptable. And you don't get your teeth shaken out too much if you hit a hard bump. And then of course, touch of a button as you go through the modes into dynamic, everything's firmed up a little bit. Let me show you a little bit of the pull in 4th. So let's do 30 miles an hour in 4th gear, around about 3,000 revs, something like that. 60. As you can see, as it goes to sort of between 4 and 5,000 revs, it really starts to accelerate. So if you keep it around 5,000 revs, you make really, really good good progress on this bike. BMW claim a 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds on this machine. That's not bad, is it? I love the way a little crest, you just crack the throttle and the wheel comes up, all under control. The traction control's got you fully covered, and the front there, you've got so much braking power that it gives you such confidence to push on, because you can stop so quickly on this bike. It's incredible. Let's try a bit of an emergency stop. Let's just wait for it to get past this car. That's not bad, is it? And if I started flashing the hazards, and if I look at the brake counter, I was only using half brake pressure there. I could have braked quicker than that. That's just my is the road dry head on. Of course you've got ABS and everything. You could probably just slam those to the bar and it will sort it out, but that was a pretty quick stop, and the brakes, you know, just felt absolutely rock solid.
So
So let's take a little bit of a closer look at this mean looking machine. So obviously big changes for this year is the new wings on this bike. As I said at the beginning, about 6 kilos of downforce on the road, but flat out there's something like 33 kilos of downforce. And these wings are absolutely huge. BMW have done this for the last few years on the road. Now the M1000R RR, the S1000R sort of follows on the following year with the same wings that the M had the year before. So these are sort of last year's M wings, and probably next year this bike will have this year's M wings, which are even bigger again. But there's a lot of wingage on here. So there we go, there we have some wing action. They're pretty meaty, aren't they? If you're not a fan of wings, these are quite OTT. Another change for 2025 is the new mudguard, which incorporates these brake cooling ducts either side, which feeds fresh air to the incredible M calipers. So the whole front end is different this year. This is the M Sport version of the bike. So this comes in that beautiful white, red and blue paintwork, which does look really quite special, doesn't it? But ideally I would have liked to have seen this mudguard in carbon fibre. There's a lot of plastic with this now, and yeah, that really needs to be carbon, doesn't it? I'm not sure I like that sort of heavy use of plastic on that front end for those brake cooling ducts, but that's just my opinion. Here are those incredible M calipers. Now these are the best brakes I've ever used, as I said in the video. These are absolutely amazing, the calipers on this bike. I think they're made by Nissan, but they're badged up as M. I don't know how BMW have got the braking so superb on this machine. I don't know what their secret is. What's their secret sauce? Is it the pad material? Is it the caliper design? Is it the master cylinder? I don't know. But these are the best brakes I have ever used. They're absolutely amazing. Here's the rear carbon fibre wheel. Oh, I think BMW are still the only manufacturer, aren't they, to make carbon fibre wheels on their bikes. And they are rather special. This version also has the billet pack. So you've got billet rear sets made by Gillies, and you've got the M Endurance chain as well, which is meant to be maintenance free. The M Sport pack also comes with the Akropovich rear silencer, which is titanium. Still very quiet, but it does have a titanium silencer. Styling updates also include bringing back of the shark gills. I really like the look of the shark gills. That's a bit of an S1000RR trait, isn't it? And they've brought them back for 2025. Big fan. The tail unit is slightly redesigned to what it was on the version I had on a long term. A slightly different tail. Didn't like it at first, but it's definitely growing on me now. And of course, that fantastic BMW TFT. It's always been the best, came out probably 4 or 5 years ago now. It's still the best TFT available. How did BMW absolutely nail it and the competition still not caught up? Best dash on the market. You can't help feeling special when you're riding this. It's one of those bikes, you know, those high-end machines where it's the pinnacle of motorcycling technology, isn't it? The pinnacle of motorcycling. Hill hold control again, that. The pinnacle of motorcycling technology in these sort of premium sports bikes. I know that the adventure bikes are sort of taking over that crown, aren't they? But when it comes to performance, you cannot beat a sports bike. And when you're riding it around, you can't help but feel special. You can't help but feel the boss of the road. There's something about them. There's something about them I absolutely love. This is very good. Do I have to give it back, BMW? Can I not keep it for the rest of the season? I mean, it's almost September anyway, you know, you're not only missing out too much. Ooh. Another thing which is class leading on this bike is the quick shifter blipper. It is one of the few, if not the only, bike I've ever tested where you can use the quick shifter blipper, any gear, any revs, any situation, and you get the perfect shift. There's not another bike with a quick shifter blipper quite like the S1000R range of bikes. S1000RR, single R, M, they've all got that fantastic quick shifter blipper. Absolutely incredible. So the quick shifter blipper is the best on any bike on the market. Also the brakes are the best brakes from any other bike on the market. So this bike does two of the things better than any bike on the market. Let's give it the berries. It's one of those bikes where you can't actually fully open it up. It scares you too much. My camera's going to be gone in a minute. Oh wow, that I mean, you can't beat acceleration like that. And that was me. I was fanning with the power a little bit. I wasn't having it fully open. I didn't have the balls to go full throttle in first gear, even though I could feel that the bike was being tamed. It wasn't unleashing everything, it was being nice to me. Fighting for traction on that rear wheel, I suspect. Oh, it's something special, this bike, it really is. Let's just get past these fellas. Piece of cake. It's a little bit damp, but I can feel exactly what is going on through the tarmac. When you go on the power, you can feel the rear wheel sort of fighting for grip. When you go on the brakes, you can feel the front tyre fighting for grip. I mean, you can feel what the tyres are doing. Bloody love that. God, that little lunge it does as the power started to kick in there. Direction changes are instantaneous because of the carbon fibre wheels obviously help with that rotational mass being lower. The brakes just to get the speed perfect going into the corner. The rear brakes very nice as well, just for scrubbing off a little bit of speed without unsettling it too much. Oh, the brakes are so powerful. When you go hard on the brakes, it dances around and the tyres fighting for grip, but not in a scary way, which is what that would be on a lot of other bikes. It's fun. It's fun to feel the front tyre fighting for grip and trying to find grip. Overtaking ground, no, just absolutely bags of it, even in fourth gear, without having to knock it down and get into the high, you know, the high rev ranges. You just put a bit of that, you blast past traffic. Oh, it's impressive. It is really impressive, and it's so amazing the way BMW has made this a good road bike. How can a performance focused track weapon like this be so well mannered and so well spec'd for the road? It's incredible, isn't it? Is this an alternative to like your Super Nakeds and stuff? I think it is. I never would have said that. I would have said no, Super Duke, M1000R is what you want. I don't know now. I don't know now. It's just scrambled my brain. Another dislike with this machine is it is a little bit buzzy. I mean, a lot of people say this about the S1000R range. There's a little bit of vibration through the bars, and there is. There's a buzziness to the bars, there's a slight buzziness through the tank. However, it hasn't spoiled my enjoyment of this bike. Yeah, it's a little bit buzzy. You know, straight fours can be. I think the S1000s are maybe a little bit more buzzy than some of the competition. You know, they don't put in that extra balancing shaft like you get on the ZX10, which feels much smoother. It feels raw. It feels raw. It feels refined, but there's also sort of an underlying rawness about the engine, which I don't mind that. I mean, if you're buying a bike with 210 horsepower, you don't want to have it feel too refined, do you? You want it to have a bit of character. You want it to scare you a little bit, don't you? And I think the buzziness through the bike sort of just adds to that character of the machine. On straight fours, it's quite easy to be blasé and say they're a bit boring. And to some degree they are, you know, compared to a V-twin or a triple even. You know, they can be a little bit boring, straight fours, but I think this is a funny spin on a buzzy bike, isn't it, to say it's a good thing, it brings character. But it does bring a little bit of character, and I haven't found the vibrations off-putting, I haven't found them intrusive. I've sort of ignored them and they've not bothered me. But I can see why some people find them a bit too buzzy, but it hasn't bothered me. But yes, it is a little bit of a buzzy bike through the bars and through the actual tank as well. If you really grip it, you can feel the whole thing buzzing a little bit. But hey, it's, you know, it's 210 horsepower and it's an absolute rocket ship. I could put up with it. What BMW have done incredibly well with this bike, as he tries not to lose it on the gravelly corner, is the electronics, the toys, cruise control, you know, an incredible dashboard with a fantastic layout with lean angle sensors, and you know, it's got all the bells and whistles. You know, it's not got adaptive, you know, it's not got everything, but it's got what you need to be able to make this bike comfortable. You know, having the adjustable rider modes, which adjusts all the suspension, that helps with the comfort massively. And I'm going to go back to road actually. See, it's got the Race Pro 1 mode, all that comes as standard now. So you can turn off, you see it flashed up with an ABS warning now. The ABS is off in the Race Pro mode, the wheelie control's off. So if you want to sort of customise it, you can do that with the Race Pro modes. But, you know, in all honesty, I like that one of the benefits of this bike is you don't have to worry about getting it in the right mode, getting the right traction level. I mean, that is the benefit to the BMW system, I think. It just does it for you in the background. You don't have to worry yourself. I said like 4,500 revs it's doing that. On a straight 4. Third gear. And the wheelie control's killing that. I need to turn the wheelie. This is when the pro rider modes are quite useful, because you could go in and I could limit, I could sort of have a bit of wheelie control on, but I could just have a little bit of wheelie control on. Just a bit of a safety net. But it would let me then lift up the front a bit more over those little crests. I love that. So there we go, the 2025 BMW S1000RR. Quite the machine, and still something which is on my radar. I thought I was outgrown, well, not outgrown, but got too old, well, physically outgrown around the middle of a premium top of the range sports bike like this, but I may have one more left in me. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.